Welcome back. All right, so we're going to talk about wrestling, WWE. Today making news with releases. I'll talk a bit about AEW as well, and then some other wrestling to talk about at the end of this. So Mustafa Ali leads the releases for the WWE today, and a lot of talk online about how he's a superstar that really should have had better. And I agree. Whether it's Triple H in charge, Vince in charge, whoever's been in charge, they've just dropped the ball with Mustafa Ali. So many stops and starts when it came to a push for him, and he can work the mic. He's very good in the ring. He's still young. I really think that if he does go to AEW when the 90-day no compete is done, I think they can do a lot with him. Rick Boogs, I don't know if Rick Boogs necessarily goes to AEW. Keep in mind there's only a certain amount of time on TV for wrestlers, and AEW's already got a guy named Wardlow they're not getting TV time for, which is frustrating to me as a Wardlow fan. So we'll see what happens with Boogs, but he got a little bit of a push from WWE, and then he was kind of gone. He just kind of disappeared, and that's too bad. I don't like it when that happens. I like to see the continuity and just see where a wrestler can go. Aaliyah on the list, a little bit less surprised with Aaliyah. She's dealt with injuries and just a lack of a solid storyline. I don't think she ever had a solid storyline on the main roster. And so all the best to her. Top Dollar from Hit Row. If you listen to commentary on Raw or SmackDown anytime Hit Row was around, the comments from usually from Michael Cole about Top Dollar would tell you that WWE wasn't really high on the wrestler. And so I'm not surprised he's gone. I also would not be surprised to see him show up next to Swerve Strickland 3 months from now. Because, of course, Hit Row, Swerve Strickland was in that as well. And I'm sure Swerve, seeing the news from today, probably happy that he didn't go back to WWE and that he made the move to AEW. Tegan Knox released. Feels like this is the second time she's been released from WWE. Wasn't she the one, too, that Becky Lynch wanted to face on Raw and they changed it last moment to Natty? Huh. So that definitely makes me wonder if that's why it wasn't Tegan Knox that came out. But again, Tegan Knox, there's the talent's there. I would not be surprised to see her in Impact or in AEW. Keeping in mind, as I mentioned before, there's only a certain number of jobs to go around a certain number of places, and AEW has definitely let off a little bit when it comes to the gas they were putting on into, picking up as many of the former WWE stars as possible. Emma being released, Riddick Moss being released, these two are a couple. Riddick Moss reportedly saying he just didn't answer the phone to the releases were going on, so he knew what it was. Riddick Moss, he was kind of lame at points, and then they seem to be trying to turn that around and make him a more credible wrestler, and then they just kind of jobbed him out. I'm not sure why they rehired Emma, to be honest. Emma came in and just got squashed every time she was in the ring. Because I think Emma has the look, she has the talent as well. She can work the microphone, and it doesn't matter. So she's gone. Elias is gone as well. Elias, a wrestler that I was not sold on in NXT. And then on the main roster, you know what? Walk with Elias absolutely works. Always Elias walks, I guess, if he goes to AEW. Anyways, of course, you'd have to have a different name. WWE does tend to trademark the names now, so you'd have to have a different name altogether. I only wish that they had reported they had let go of Ezekiel as well. That's where they messed up here. It should have been we let go of Elias as well as his brother Ezekiel, who of course is the same guy. But yeah, Elias is out. Shelton Benjamin's out. Xavier Woods putting out a nice post on Shelton Benjamin and how without him there wouldn't be enough Up Down Down podcast, which I'm really glad survived when WWE was trying to prevent wrestlers from making money outside of WWE. Shelton Benjamin, great wrestler, could make a very good agent for a company if he can't find work as a full-time wrestler at this stage, but he can still go. Dolph Ziggler, not a surprise Ziggler's gone because he was on Being the Elite, and if somebody's going to be, hanging out with the Elite, odds are they're going to be out of WWE. And of course, his brother Ryan is currently employed by AEW. So will we see Nick and Ryan Nemeth together? We might. And I would imagine he'll go to his name, Nick Nemeth, in AEW. I would be very surprised if he doesn't. And Dolph Ziggler, at certain points in time, he was the most over wrestler in WWE. And then he'd get injured. And they just, again, they're so fickle when it comes to who's at the top and who's not, and who they believe in and who they don't. Dana Brooke was let go. There may be some who are surprised Dana Brooke's still around. Dana Brooke had been working in NXT lately. Honestly, she's been around for probably about 2 years longer than I would have expected her to be around. Just because whether the talent is or isn't there, they just didn't seem to have any faith to put a push behind her. So Dana Brooke's out. Mansoor, Mace is gone as well, or Mace, right? The gimmick that they were running there, where they were the male models, that gimmick just flopped. Absolutely did. Mansoor, I think they hired for the Saudi shows, and then outside of the Saudi shows, they had nothing for him. Clearly, there was never really much of a feud there. They kind of had a feud with Hit Row a little bit. I think I remember them having a one with the Street Profits, but didn't go anywhere, and they just kind of got buried. And of course, once American Alpha takes Maxine, and you don't see them, that would be your red flag right there. That you lose your manager to another tag team and nothing happens. There's no angle that comes out of it. So that's a red flag. You might be on your way out. Shanky was released, so I'm sure he's dancing somewhere. And Shanky danced. That's it. What I remember of Shanky is that he danced rather than wrestle. Man, that's got to be frustrating. Because I'm sure on some level he had to be like, all right, I'm going to do this dancing gimmick. And then when they actually let me wrestle, I'm going to be pretty good and I'm going to blow them away. And no. I'm also kind of surprised that Veer and Jinder Mahal survived this. Only because it does feel like that whole trio just got buried and gone. And they haven't been relevant for a while. So we'll see. Commander Aziz, also known as Dabba Kato, out as well. Not a huge surprise there. Would I be surprised if Apollo Crews was in the next round of releases? Not really. And again, there's a lot of wrestlers. There are a lot of guys. There's just nothing for. And Bryson Montana, Quincy Elliott, both wrestlers on NXT. I'm guessing their names come from a name generator. I've always been frustrated with WWE that it does sound like a lot of their names just are from a name generator. That is just random first and last name. And it's just so they can trademark it. So it's odd. But anyways, there's your releases so far from today. Whether or not we see more releases tomorrow and next week, I don't know. Because honestly, this is about streamlining the company, making as much money as humanly possible. WWE wants to make as much money as humanly possible. And with Vince McMahon back in charge of things, getting rid of wrestlers, Nick Khan's happy. Tony Khan might be happy as well. No relation to one another. And Tony Khan was caught being happy last night. So for Moxley, kind of a scary night for him. He ends up concussed. Calls an audible and drops the title to Rey Fenix. Hopefully, Mox is okay. Did not end up going to the hospital that I saw. But there were some kind of questionable bumps after he got the concussion. So here's the thing. When a wrestler's concussed, the match is over. The end. That's it. There is nothing more to be done. I don't care if it's the main event of WrestleMania. If a wrestler is concussed, the match is over. And clearly Mox was not with it after that. So the fact that Stevie Richards calls him out today in a video, the fact that Tony Khan was seen dancing on the stage after that took place, what are you doing? That's one of your main event guys who just got hurt. Can you stop being a fanboy for 10 seconds and act like a businessman? This is business, and one of the guys who sells tickets and puts butts in seats just got hurt, could be out for a while. The thing I get a kick out of too is when they say minor concussion. A minor concussion is all relative. I've seen, whether it's football, hockey, various contact sports, you can see a minor concussion lead to a guy being out for months. Because you don't know how long it's going to take for them to 100% recover. I've also seen where I'm fine, everything's good, it's fine, and then a couple days later you find out that they've had some kind of a relapse or problems with headaches. So there is no such thing as a minor concussion. You do not wrestle once you're concussed. John Moxley, I know he likes to go balls out and every single move known to man, whether it's safe or dangerous, but yeah, this you can't have the guy running the company dancing around like that on TV. And I also wanted to throw this in here. We've started watching Wrestlers, the miniseries on Netflix. I've watched 2 episodes so far. Al Snow is the man. I have always believed Al Snow was the man. The Job Squad was my favorite gimmick in the history of wrestling. They were my favorite stable ever. It was this idea that they were all wrestlers who didn't win. And so they would all get together and they were their own stable. And so when they lost, well, that's expected. They're the Job Squad. But when they won, it was a big deal. So there were definitely times where Al Snow would win matches, and it was kind of a big deal. And of course, that was when he had the gimmick with the mannequin head. So watching him running a wrestling company as a co-owner and seeing the friction between himself and the money men that are the owners, basically the majority owners of the company, it's an interesting show. It gives you behind the scenes look. I know from my wife, the first episode, she learned stuff from it. I didn't think she would. I thought that, in the years we've been together, probably would have, brought a lot of this stuff to her. But she's found stuff out about referees, the role they play, about some of the backstage stuff, about some of the production stuff. And that's great. So I think not only does Wrestlers work for wrestling fans to really get a feel for how OVW works, but it's good for non-fans as well. So I cannot recommend this show enough. I think it's great. It's really well done. It doesn't sugarcoat things. It doesn't try to make it sound like all the wrestlers are angels. There's times with WWE where they do the documentaries, and I think they're too sunshiny. They're too positive. And I'm thinking, I remember some really dark times for this wrestler that they're kind of sugarcoating or ignoring completely. Something really now might be really politically incorrect kind of stuff, right? But at any rate, I cannot recommend Wrestlers enough. Great show. And I wanted to throw in here too, as of this week, because it was this week, I have become a sponsor for Pride Style Pro Wrestling, which is launched out of Las Vegas. So an old friend of mine from when I ran a wrestling online fed of my own, Tommy Purr, who used that name when he was on my message boards, and we conversed for years. Tommy was ahead of his time. Tommy was absolutely ahead of his time in terms of some of the more outlandish stuff that he would suggest. That even though I was just doing text-based results, I wasn't doing like results on WWE games. I wasn't doing any kind of video of any sort. I was just doing text-based, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work in text, but it did. And looking at his career as a professional wrestler, he's done a lot of the stuff that he would do when I had the message board and I would write all the results. So kudos to him for that. So when he came to me and he said, "Hey, we need some sponsors," I said, "Absolutely, I will do that." So I'm helping to sponsor them. I'm willing to do so on a monthly basis, and so I figured the least I can do is give them a little bit of a shout out. They have an event, I think, tomorrow night coming up. It's tonight or tomorrow. I'm terrible at this for a sponsor, aren't I? But at any rate, I'll figure it out. I've just started following their page on Facebook, and so I've got my fingers crossed that it goes well for them. They do have access to my logo and the link to my channel, so don't be surprised when you see THG related advertisements on their events and potentially on site and all this. So I think that's great. Because I've always been very careful about the whole sponsorship thing as a YouTuber. I want to make sure that if I sponsor something, that it has to be something that works for me, and wrestling absolutely does. I had the dream when I was a kid of being a wrestler, and then genetics said no. So I never had the genetics to be a wrestler. Can I cut a promo? Hell yeah, I can cut a promo. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I can cut a promo. When you're 5'0" nothing, doesn't matter if you can cut a promo. It really doesn't matter. So I really hope that things go well for them, and that check them out. There you go. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.